Recording, iPhone's recording, audio synced. It's an unedited meeting.
Guys, I missed your faces.
It's been like
a long ass time. Does it feel good to be back?
It's been like 6 weeks. We actually tried to record one of these.
That's what I was just gonna tell him.
Yeah.
We tried to record it probably 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, coming out of the shingles phase where I was not just laying in bed, like I wanted to be trying to do stuff more, but I was still on some medication and I was still in pain, and we sat down and
You were on pain?
I was still on some major pain.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that a rapper or someone? Major Pain?
T-Pain is a rapper.
I knew that.
Yeah. Major Lazer is also a rapper. This is why people tuned in to hear.
So anyway, we sat down in this exact spot and we were talking about like what to work on. And it just went south so quickly.
Let's see if this is a repeat.
No, I feel so much better.
Oh, okay, great.
Like a lot better.
All right, you are going to lead this meeting, mademoiselle.
I was going to tell you the same thing, but you beat me to it.
Really?
Well, I can lead.
All
That's
right.
fine.
I want everyone to know, let the jury know that here the prosecution has notes. But these are from a different time. This is from like a week ago.
So
these aren't fresh notes.
What I would like to go over in this meeting, we did do a meeting 2 weeks ago last Monday, where we went through all of our...
That's basically where these notes came from.
Right. We went through our Airtable that had all of our tasks that basically are still outstanding from like right at launch. Things like small CSS tweaks on the website. Anyway, a lot of stuff that's still like outstanding things. And so that's not actually what I want to talk about because we still need to do all of that, and that's fine. We can schedule that ourselves. What I want to talk about is like the bigger picture stuff.
Okay.
So we've been doing Wandering Aimfully for like a couple months now, and I know that it's been kind of weird because I haven't been able to contribute what I would normally contribute. So it's not like we're on like a real schedule or things aren't working the way that they're always going to work. However, there are a couple things I want to like discuss that I want to give people a window into, namely, how do we think the podcast is going? How do we think the process of doing the podcast is going? Because it takes up a lot of time.
Yep.
Are there ways to streamline that?
I want to talk about memberships, both new and then existing, and then talk about my getting over cancellations.
Yeah. Okay. So I have that under like bigger strategy, which is like keeping people...
Retention and
acquisition, which is really just covers everything.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get too bogged down on that because we still have a lot that needs to be done. But I do think it's good to plant the seeds now of like where we're trying to go by the end of the year, where we're trying to go at the beginning of next year, and also what we need to start working on now in terms of, do we start like reorganizing the video content? Like just, I have this lingering feeling that we have so much good information organized poorly.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've talked about on many occasions is that we recommend to most of you, especially new people, like this, and this as your first resources when you're a new member of Wandering Aimfully, if you're just getting started, whatever. And I mean, we repeat the same things over and over, but all of those things are like, you got to go here, and then you got to go here, and then go to the third lesson of this, and then it's just very buried within all the content. And that's just the nature of when you move on from like individual courses that solve problems to like a membership community that has all this stuff, and then you got to pull it out. So I do agree.
I would like to move to, which I think maybe we've mentioned before, is I would like to move to basically like a video archive of shorter...
Right, totally. And it's like the sponsorships course that I have, how to get sponsors for anything. I recorded those videos in 2014.
Right.
That's 4 years ago. I have so many, not even new things to say, I just have like a more concise way that I could say all that information.
And so that's a huge undertaking though, is basically taking like 15 courses,
and that's why
deconstructing them, reconstructing them.
My point is to go, what are the things we say the most to people, which is specifically for new members.
Right. Branding,
here is
content marketing,
the new member,
brainstorming ideas.
You need to watch these 7 videos on this page, and it'll take you maybe 2 hours, and you will.
I even think what we could do is use future finding as basically like identify your track, and then here's like the 0 to clarity roadmap. Here is the, like, why don't we do that? You know what I mean? Here's the 0 to clarity roadmap.
We just haven't had time to think about course content and like membership stuff.
So maybe that's like November is what we do is.
Well, that's what we talked about was, and you posted a video in the Wandering Aimfully Slack today actually in the Zook announcements channel if you haven't seen it. But essentially we
So flirty.
had a conversation last week that was October, the rest of October is catch-up month. And truthfully, it's 1 week is all we have
I know.
to get caught up on everything, but not do anything new, not take any of these new ideas, not pull content from other, like none of that is allowed to be done. And I think it may actually move into the first week of November to do catch-up stuff because you're leaving next week to go on a trip with mom, which is cool. It just, I think we're gonna need more time to get caught up. And then we can move into, oh, what are new things we wanna do? What do we wanna explore, et cetera.
So we just probably shouldn't talk about that.
I don't think it's worth exploring now because I don't want to get down the rabbit hole of it. And I think this is a really good lesson for the Wandering Aimfully members as well, is at some point you have to say, I'm not allowed to do new things. I'm not allowed to do the stuff that's exciting and fun because I have to do the things that are like making the foundation solid. And one of those things for us, and for me especially, is I don't feel like our new member experience is good. And I don't feel like we're doing a good job of saying, hey, here is a way for you to digest all this stuff, because it's the thing we hear over and over, which is I'm overwhelmed by all the things that I get. And it's a good thing. Like we get a lot of people who are like, it's just too much stuff. So I know that this like new like pulling courses and videos into one place is a way to solve that. But to me, we can do some smaller things faster before that. So,
well, I want to also share with people on that membership. Let's go to the membership retention idea.
This is not allowed to be in screen because it's hideous.
This is an unedited meeting, bro. I'm in gym clothes.
We need to get you a koozie.
We need to get me a koozie.
Yeah,
Give me a
not
koozie.
Hideous.
Guys, fun fact about me. Hate condensation. Hate it.
Yeah, you really
Wet.
do.
Ugh. Anyway, I have a lot of papers too, and I set stuff down and it like gets on my papers and I don't like it. Let's talk about let's just dive right into customer retention. And this is one of the very few things where me being the emotionally sensitive person, I have somehow detached from people canceling. I don't know what it is.
I think it's because you don't manage the Wandering Aimfully buyers Airtable. You don't manage inputting all their subscriptions. You don't see the actual money going up and down as much as I do. Like I look at it every day, so it affects me when it goes down.
I hear that, but
that's not a criticism of you, by the way.
Well, it is a little bit
No.
well, just let me just tell you how that came out. Was me being like, yeah, I have been able to detach, and you being like,
no, I do
more than you, so here's why.
No. It's not about I do more than you. I apologize if it came off that way. That was not my intention. My intention was
you guys heard it here first.
I do this job, which I'm fine to do because one of us has to do it and I don't mind doing it.
Right.
You set up the Airtable. Like for me, it's an even split because you did the work to build the thing that we could use. Now I just go in and use it.
I get what you're saying.
So
you're more intimately acquainted with that fluctuation.
Very intimate. I'm very intimate with that Airtable. Some might even say I've taken it to a nice dinner. We've come home after that dinner.
Where are you going?
Candles were lit.
I don't think so.
Rose petals were on the floor.
Was Versace on the floor?
Versace on the floor.
I'm sorry, Versace?
Versace,
okay.
Yeah.
So I thank you for apologizing and thank you for acknowledging that. I do see where you're coming from. You are in there every day. However, I think what I keep trying to tell you is that, okay, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way.
Oh, here we go.
But I feel like before we even launched Wandering Aimfully, you had very unrealistic expectations about churn.
Right. The problem is because we're coming off of Buy Our Future, which overall has had a 4% churn.
Buy Our Future, that is not churn. That is cancellations. That is people saying.
I get it.
So,
but
can I just explain to everyone?
Sure, but I'm just letting you know, all I have are my experiences that I can apply.
I hear that.
So it's just as we would do with something with you or with anybody else, it's like, that's all you have. So I
totally understand that, but I said it multiple times, which is that Buy Our Future is something that someone is paying for up front, that they're then doing payment installations. In their minds, they've already committed to paying that money. And so if they cancel, it's actually, there's a high barrier to entry for someone to cancel Buy Our Future because they've already committed to the payment. Wandering Aimfully, they're not committed to it. They're committed to the month that they paid, and if it comes up on there.
Well, guys, commit then. It'd be fine. You'd solve all my problems.
And so
I'm kidding.
I was trying to be very cautious of us during the whole process where it's like, you kept saying this like low churn number. I'm like, that's not churn though. That's cancellation of a product. This is where we really get into churn. So the people that cancel and come in and out, that is not surprising to me in the least, especially because most people are saying, it's a timing thing for them.
I get it. Listen, I get it. So just to set the stage for everybody, literally almost every single person who's canceled, which I think we're up to 9 or 10 people out of the 65 that have signed up. That's like a 12, less than 12%. It's like 10% churn, 11, 12% churn, somewhere around there. Normal churn of like a SaaS product is somewhere between 7 and 15%. 15% is usually really high. 7% is usually pretty good. Below that, you're doing a great job. With Teachery, we have like a 6% churn, which is good.
I also just want to note that most SaaS products are not $100 a month.
Totally. So the problem for me, and this is what we've talked about, is that regardless of previous experience of Buyer Future, on all of those things, every single person that is canceling almost to a T has said like, I love wandering Aimfully. You guys have done a great job. The resources are great. I have to go do X, Y, and Z. A couple people have canceled because they're having babies and they're trying to save money. I get it. I totally get it. And whenever I write them an email back.
But we're not going to take people who have babies anymore.
On the sales
need
page,
that to be known.
If you are pregnant with a baby or
Not
thinking
gonna
about,
You're
don't
not our
sign up.
target. Just
Don't
kidding.
sign up. Completely kidding. We want you to sign up.
And we want you to have babies if you want.
Use Wandering Aimfully for as many months as you can. It's that, yeah, it's trying to be very realistic about why people are canceling, understanding that it's not about us. It's just, I just want to be honest with you guys,
Totally.
with you, that, again, like this goes back to a thing in our relationship that you've helped me do, which is to say, like, if you're feeling something, say something. That's what you always say. That's like on the sign at our front door.
If you feel it, say it.
If you feel it, say it. And it hurts. Like even if someone, like most recently, the person who canceled was like, I love you guys so much. That was literally the subject line of the email. Like, it's not about you. I'm traveling the next year. Like, I'm just trying to cut every corner I can to save up as much money. So helpful. I've gotten so much value out of the bunch of stuff. I will be back next year, blah, blah, blah. That's great. But to me, like, I still think immediately like, crap, we just lost a person that just increased our monthly recurring revenue. We're not at the goal that we wanted to be at. Like, we're not at a profitable place with our business. And so, yeah, it adds like a 0.5% incline to the damn treadmill. And I'm like, I just got used to 4% incline. I don't want to go up to 4.5% incline.
Yeah, I get it.
So I just want to be honest with people that I feel this way. It's not necessarily like something that we can fix.
Well, it's hard when you pour so much of your heart into it, right?
Totally. And I want the people who are watching this are the people who care about us. You're the people of Wandering Aimfully who you love us and you're probably not going to quit, or you're a Buyer Future person or whatever. So it's not even going to matter to you. Like, I'm not trying to convince you not to quit. That's not all I'm doing. It's just to say that, like, sometimes I think people look at us as like ahead of where they are, and we still deal with this crap.
Totally.
And we still have to figure out how to manage those things.
And my whole point is, I'm glad you share that. I'm glad you're honest about your feelings
just
about it.
don't have any emotions.
But go back to being a robot. But what I'm trying to say, especially for anyone watching, is don't let that discourage you. Like, I think sometimes these cancellations, they can get in your head and they can make you start to feel like you're doing something wrong or you're not doing enough, and you can start to, like, this self-doubt is like this virus that starts spreading to everything you're doing, where I'm like, should we just quit the podcast? Should we just redesign the website? Like, no. We can, yes, take that feedback and take a look back and go, what can we control in order to increase retention for those people who, what can we do to make it as valuable as possible, right? And then it's like, just keep going. Like, I know the treadmill has increased to 4.5, but then we go, okay, next launch, what can we do to try to get those 30 people instead of the 20 people,
and I think you would agree that I don't have any problem keeping going. Like, that's not even...
I know that you don't have a problem keep going, but I do think that sometimes it gets inside your head and you start to doubt what we're doing.
Yeah, I just think it's been a very tough last couple of weeks.
You don't have to tell me that.
No, and I just mean in general, like, it's really, I'm also trying to remove myself and look at it and go, we just started this new membership thing. We're still in the experimentation phase, which is exactly what we sent an email about this morning, this week's newsletter. And like, we have to try things. We have to figure out new things. And that was our intention going forward. It's just, we got like walloped in the face, both figuratively and metaphorically. And so it's just been difficult. It's been tough.
It has been tough. But you know what? We have a lot to be grateful for. I'm feeling
tall,
better now.
You're feeling better.
You're tall.
I'm handsome.
I'm handsome.
Sometimes.
Most times.
I'm beautiful, you're handsome. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
All right, so I just wanted to share that. I think it's worth sharing. So do you want to talk about things that we're going to do for customer retention?
Yeah,
do you want to start there?
Let's do retention, and then let's do acquisition. And then I think we should actually look ahead a little bit to the November launch window and say, like, are there things we need to be doing now? Because that's going to come up on us in a hot second.
Okay, so one of the things that we want to do for retention, first, I'm just going to start with first thing, is a new Wandering Aimfully member roadmap.
Yeah, okay.
Which I'm not worried about making that super robust. I'm not worried about making that really long.
You're talking about a roadmap in the dashboard.
A roadmap in the dashboard, one of our interactive checklist roadmaps. And by
Getting
the way,
started roadmap.
the reason I got up when Caroline was talking to me, I didn't mention this, but I wanted to mention it because I didn't want to think that you guys think I was just rude and I just got up to check something.
Well, we
I have
know
to
you're
check the camera to see if it's filming because I can't see the thing. Anyway.
So one of the interactive roadmaps
Yes.
we want to be.
This for me is a two-pronged problem solving
Now, would you
thing.
say that those would be pillars?
I would say they'd be pillars.
Cool.
Yeah, they look tall and
Pillar-like? Caterpillar?
No.
We should just call our podcast listeners caterpillars.
Corinthian. This one's Corinthian, and this one is Doric. Is that a thing? I think I just pulled that out of the old archives.
Corinthians is
For
a book
sure,
in the Bible.
For sure.
You know that,
Yeah,
right?
but it's also a column. It's a type of column. Corinthian columns. Yeah.
Where did you learn this?
That's what
there
I'm
are
saying.
types of columns?
Oh yeah.
Doric?
I want to say Doric as well. We'll look it up afterwards. I'm not gonna
We
look it
Googled
up
that for you.
It solves two problems for me. Number one, it gives people an introduction to our roadmaps within the dashboard.
Sure.
Which I think is really helpful because to me, those roadmaps are such a great way to learn something, do something, etc. And we have all these ideas for all these roadmaps we want to create. They just take a while because they're very thoughtful, they're very step-by-step, and we have to do all these things. So I want to make it simple and I want to do it. The second problem that it solves is that it gives people a place to go, oh, okay, like here's the Slack section of this Getting Started with WAIM roadmap. I downloaded the Slack app, I introduced myself, I changed my profile photo, and I'm gonna commit this week to showing up for 15 to 20 minutes every day so that I can just talk with other members and comment on other things. And then, have a couple other things within the roadmap as well, but just basic, simple stuff like that so that you can feel like, oh, cool, I'm accomplishing stuff. Also, this is how our dashboard works and these roadmaps work. So I think that's number one.
Great.
Number two is of the things that we're doing to improve customer retention. So I do think that one would be helpful, but more helpful than that is to add a couple emails onto the onboarding sequence of a new buyer.
Okay, so let's just nail those down. So
Yep.
the first email is the welcome and here's what you can expect.
Yes.
That's already pretty robust, so I don't want to
Yes.
freak people out.
Yes. So I like that email. I would say let's have that email pretty much stay the same.
Okay.
The second email is the survey email.
Is that the
And
next day?
I think it's 2 days.
2 days.
And I think that one's fine. I think the thing we need to talk about removing is the personalized roadmaps in that. Because this is
Right.
an unscalable thing that we've
Okay,
discovered.
well, we need to tell people about that as
Let's
well.
circle back to that though, because I think we still want to do the survey regardless whether the survey information itself changes, but it's just it's a great time to ask people to give us more information.
Okay.
I think 2 days after that email,
Yeah.
they should get go check out the Getting Started roadmap, because by that time, hopefully a new Wandering Info member has already gone into Slack, they've already introduced themselves, maybe they've added their profile photo, they've done some of the things and they can go, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this.
But if they haven't,
But
then
if they
have
haven't,
a
they
clear
do that.
path.
So I think that in itself is an email.
Yeah.
And then I would say maybe 1 week after that email is to, go ahead.
I think we start people off with future finding.
Sure. So
No
I was just
matter
going to
what.
say, let's pick a resource and let's go with it. And I also agree the future finding is the best because we spent so much time thinking about our audience, thinking about where they are, thinking about where we were, what we needed, and then building out that kind of curriculum, if you
Yeah,
will.
because the best thing that we did with that is we recognized that we often have people at 3 different parts of a journey.
Yep.
And so our recommendations to them in terms of what resources to go to are often at 3 different parts. So while there are things like the Better Branding course that I think everyone can benefit from, or Make Money Making, we offer up a lot. Sorry, I was just thinking that might be a good idea too, is to kind of take a look at our resources and say what are the things that everyone can use, and then what are the more specialized things.
Right.
But anyway.
So I think one of the things that we both agree on is Make Money Making and Transparent Talks and these things, they're really good pieces of content, but they're the recording quality is crappy. We
Right.
need to redo them. Working to Live is another one. We just need to redo that. So I think we need to use right now what we have that can be helpful.
No, I agree. But anyway, so that's why I like future finding, is because not only is it full of content, but it immediately, I feel gives somebody a framework within to define themselves and say, here's actually what I'm struggling with. Either I don't know what my idea is, so that's 0 to clarity, or I'm having trouble scaling from trading my time for money, which is scale or clarity to scale, or I'm having trouble like pulling all my ideas together and all my products together, which is scale to optimization.
I think just to add to the getting started roadmap, if we add a section in there for working to live, because we just so fundamentally believe working to live is like our process, our ideal way of like creating the life that you want, I think we should sneak that into the getting started roadmap in some way. So if you can just add a little like, add that into the working to live.
Add working to live in there.
Into the roadmap, so future finding. And now I don't want to necessarily just harp on selling. So I think that's good for that 1 week. So let's do 1 week after that.
Okay.
Excuse me, everybody. I think we do one of two things. One, we go, do you feel like, you know, your life isn't quite in order and maybe you need some help on getting out of debt, minimalism, or like creating better process for yourself or something like that, where we have 3 articles that we can send people to. And it might just be our guides if we wanted to use our guides, because those are very much like kind of step by step, back to business basics as another example of that.
All right, I think we just choose 3 because, again, the whole point of this is to not be overwhelming.
Yeah. So we can choose them afterwards.
Okay.
And then I would say, as a PS to almost all of these, like if you haven't joined the Slack community yet, join the Slack community. If you have joined, go comment on a couple people's things, like show up for the community.
Right.
And we'll definitely make that, you know, something that kind of
because I think one thing, just to clue you guys in, like one thing we see is that if people are in the Slack community and they're contributing, they're much less likely to drop off, right? Like it still happens.
Also, one thought in the welcome email, can we add a note to add our email address, hello wondering aimfully, to their contact in Google, or
I think we do have that, but it's in the footer, I think. So.
Yeah, let's make that a priority, because one thing we've noticed is since we changed over to hello at wandering aimfully for our emails a couple months ago, it is ending up in people's spam or junk folders because it's a new email address. So we want to try and fix that, and the best way to fix that, if you don't know this, is to get people to add it to their contacts, add it to their whitelist or whatever is helpful.
So I feel good about this.
So that's going to be, so that's basically 1 to 3 weeks of content. I would say let's add one more on the end, which is like, where are you right now? What can we help you with?
Okay.
And I think the way that I want to think about these emails is it's just reminding people that, hey, you bought this membership, you're here, this is the stuff you have access to, we're the people you have access to. It's not you have to go and do everything yourself. Like we're trying to like soft pitch some of this stuff up for you to go, oh yeah, I did want to go check that out. I did want to read that, and thanks for the reminder. And we can just tweak from there, but that's like a good starting point.
I also think that we should implement some sort of process where in our customer Airtable, like maybe just every day, starting like a week after people sign up, because I don't want to bombard them, you and I like just pick a different person every day and we DM them if they're in Slack, or we email them if they're yet to be in Slack personally, and just say like, hey, just wanted to personally welcome you. Like, tell me more about your, you know what I mean? Like just give that personal welcome. That's something that I really want to be doing more of, but I don't have a process to get it into my workflow. So I don't know if it's like setting up a Zapier where it like text messages me a reminder. I'll do that because you probably don't need the reminder. But then in Airtable, we just put Caroline or Jason if we reached out to them. So then at least somebody has, like nobody slips through the cracks, you know what I mean?
I mean, so often in Slack, I'll be sitting there and I'll see like Tim Matan. I don't think Tim is watching these videos, but Tim sent me a message a couple months ago that was like, hey, I'm thinking I need some coaching. Like I'm kind of in the middle of a bunch of stuff. Like, can you help me? And I was like, well, what do you need help with? Like, I don't just want to like say like, hey, pay me for coaching, because I also don't have a lot of time for that. And he was like, oh, well, I'm trying to transition basically from like working on client stuff to working on a product. And I was like, ding, 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 that's future finding, and that is our clarity to scale. So go through those videos. There's 5 videos there. It's the exact things I would say on a call. It would be me personally with you, but it's the exact same things. And then I followed up with him because I remembered like a month later, and he was like, oh, it was helpful or whatever. So
that just gave me an idea of, remember who was it who was asking us to create a cool tool?
Oh, the guy, Eddie, yeah.
It was Eddie?
Yeah. It's a guy not in Wandering Aimfully who emailed me that was like, hey, I'm building stuff for content creators for free just to build up my portfolio. Can I make something for you?
Which is a great idea.
Which is really...
if you want to build up your portfolio.
Yeah.
It could be cool to just do a page that is almost like a quiz where it matches you with a resource inside Wandering Aimfully based on what your needs are.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about this of how to utilize his stuff, which is it an internal tool that helps our existing members, or is it an external tool which helps attract people to become members?
Well, you could still make that external.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a little bait and switch to be
Yeah.
like, and you can only get it inside Wandering Aimfully.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
and I think,
anyway,
again, that's
just
a
an idea.
November new stuff conversation.
Okay, so speaking of, so are you cool with this?
I think that's good. I
Okay.
think we just locked that in.
So that now brings us back to these roadmaps.
Yes.
So we had this idea when we launched Wandering Aimfully, which is that we know that one of our uphill battles is that there's so much inside Wandering Aimfully, and it's hard for people to match up what they need. So we thought, let's, in the survey, which we get just information about people after they sign up, let's also ask them, like, what are the things they're struggling with right now, what are their 1 month goal is, what their 6 month goals are, and then let's just throw together like a PDF that says, here's an actual month by month, 6 month plan of what resources to look at and what to do in order to.
And some of you have probably received
Some
this.
of you have received them.
Right.
We started doing this right before I got sick, and I've been trying to get back on track with them. The problem that we've learned is that there is no real way to make them
Fast.
Yeah.
And
Because
not
every
even-
person's different. We
Yeah.
have to go back with follow-up questions.
And there's not even a way to make them necessarily fast. Like, we don't even need to like churn them out. It's just, we care. Like, I think that's the problem with a personalized thing that you do. That's like do something that doesn't scale. It's like, that's all well and good advice, but if it's gonna rob you of all of your hours. So like, here's a perfect example. We have, I think we have, well, just of what's left, we have like 8 people left that haven't gotten roadmaps from the August group that signed up. I think it's 8 or 10 or something like that. Let's say it's 10. We have 10 people left that haven't gotten roadmaps. On average, they take between 1 and 3 hours to do these personalized roadmaps.
That would be a 2-hour average,
So
Jason.
2-hour average. That's 20 hours of straight work just making these roadmaps. It's intensive. It's a lot of focus for us to do it. It's a lot of care and thought and emotion.
And it's because I don't want to just be like, oh, you need, and
right.
here's.
And boilerplate it and do whatever. Because
Like, I've created personal worksheets for people.
Right.
And it's because the whole reason that we exist as a community is to actually help you. It's not
Yeah.
to like trick you into paying us and then to give you some formulaic blueprint that we think
Right.
works for everybody. It just doesn't. So what we've realized though is that it's not a process that is sustainable, and we're all about scaling the unscalable, but that's just not a good.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like in total, we had 24 roadmaps for this group. So we've done 14 of them, but it's taken us so much time to do those 14 that you can't just sit down and just crank out 20 hours of work. Like, it's
Right.
not humanly possible. It's not possible for us for the amount of stuff that we have on our plates. So that being said, we have to make a decision, and I think that's what we're gonna do right now for, in front of you guys, is do we continue with the roadmaps in some way? Do we not continue with the roadmaps, and do we kind of pivot to, let's do a call with people where instead of a roadmap where we invest 2 hours of time on average, we try and do a call where it's a 30-minute call, and they fill out the survey, we get on the call, we have notes of what we think we can do for them, and it probably takes 1 hour total if we're being honest about how much time. And
Right.
it's a very personal thing that
I
we do
think
for
it's
people.
worth experimenting that, because the reason we didn't do that right out of the gate is because I thought doing a document, being that I'm an introvert and it's very daunting to think of 30 hours of calls with people a month, but time-wise it seems to make more sense, and maybe there's a way that we can space them out. Like, maybe we can just set up blocks of time where it's like Tuesdays and Thursdays, blah, 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 and we have like a Calendly or something that people sign up for.
The other option that we could do between that, this is just what came to my brain, was if we go back and look at the survey, because I think we want to go back and look at the initial survey and change the questions a little bit to figure out how we can give them the things that they need to get where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of going like to the call where we're still investing an hour, is there a way that instead of doing the full personalized roadmap, it just becomes, hey, based on your answers, we recommend this, this, and this for you in just an email, even just like a simplified version of it, and see if that helps people. Listen,
I don't think I should be in charge of that because I think it's just
Yeah.
nearly impossible for me to like give somebody a formula.
Yeah. I think the other tricky thing here too is
Because the part is like I enjoy it.
No, I get it. I enjoy it
Like
as well.
I love so much being like, tell me what your business problems are. Tell me how it works. Like I love being able to be an outside, like another set of eyes on somebody's business to be like, here's how to do this.
One of the problems, and I'll fully admit this to you guys, maybe not admit, but share with you, is that 2 of the people we've done roadmaps for canceled their membership. So we've invested 4 total hours on people that we've only made $200 from, and like that would mean we make $50 an hour, and that's not scalable for us. Like we can't work at that pace, and so that to me is a red flag to go, it's not going to be everybody. I mean, the majority of people haven't canceled. And again, like I'm not trying to stay in this like everyone's canceling, the world's crumbling thing. It's more of just realizing if we spend that 2 hours, it's not even a guaranteed to keep people. So in which case, does simplifying it to like a bulleted list in an email where it's still thoughtful, we're still going, this is what we see that you could do, is helpful and is not the full investment of the personalized designed roadmap with all of like the clear steps written out.
But to me, it's like, it's not the design of the thing that's taking time at all.
No, it's the thoughtfulness and writing it out and formatting it.
Right,
and
but
making
it's
it do
going to
all these
require
things.
thoughtfulness in an email. Like, you know what I'm saying? The
I know,
problem is
but-
not the format. The problem is like...
But I slightly disagree because Kevin, who just joined, and Kevin, I don't know if you're watching this, but Kevin joined, and before he joined, he sent me an email that was like, I don't know if this is right for me. Here are the things I'm trying to do. In which case, I wrote out, if you were to join, here's exactly what I would tell you to do. That email took me 15 minutes to write. It was 5 bullets based on his needs, and it was done. And he signed up right afterwards because it was helpful.
And the point that I'm trying to share with you is because it was you and because it was clear, the path for Kevin, it would have taken you just as long to write those 5 points in a keynote template that I've already created.
But that's not true because I've had people that I've seen a very clear path of what they need to do, and the formatting of the thing, it's like the spacing of it, and then writing out all the long paragraphs, and then getting the screenshots of the images, and then linking the pieces.
But you don't have to do all of that. You literally just can replace the text.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, if we can remove any barrier of this taking longer, I understand what you're saying. It's just like simplify the PDF creation process and not spend as much time doing that.
But do you understand what I'm saying, which is that I don't think that's the problem.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally do. I don't know. I mean, at this point too, it's almost like, is this causing enough difficulty that like we should just scrap it and think of something else that we can do?
Well,
And
no, that's what I
almost-
was saying. So here's what I say. I think we just go, okay, our first experiment didn't work, which was the PDFs. That's fine. Here are some other experiments we can run.
Right.
We could do the 30-minute calls. I also just had an idea, which is like, if we still think that the calls might be too like energy intensive, we could set up like a personalized office hours with somebody. So it's like, hey, DM with us on Slack. This is your time slot. It's basically a call, but it's like, we don't have to be on, you know what I mean? And also I think some people get nervous about video
Right.
calls and stuff like that.
Well, that just gave me the idea, and I think we've talked about this before, so it's not a new idea. You get credit as much as I do for this being a previous idea. Is what if we did a new member onboarding call that was basically like a week after everyone joins, when the membership registration closes down, we do a crowdcast call. We invite all the new people to be on it. It's only for the new people, in which case it might be 10 people who show up, but we kind of push it to them to go, hey, show up for this. It's your first call. We
like a
want to know
group
what you're
call.
working on. And
maybe we send the survey ahead of time and we go, hey, we're gonna spend 5 minutes for every person that submits their business info. We're gonna spend 5 to 10 minutes individually,
Right.
because then everybody can benefit on the recommendations from everyone too.
right.
I like that.
Because then it's not I like the personalized thing, but I think we also know just from experience that, like you said, a lot of people they're afraid to get on a call. You know,
Right.
it's intimidating, it's a lot of work.
But they still get to see us.
They still get
we
to
only do it once.
Right.
We still get to give people personalized recommendations.
Right.
And then for the people who don't show up to
Again,
that, we
like,
can do the email thing.
This could just be, again, something to try, So it's like we have this new member onboarding call where it takes us maybe 2 hours total to do it. And it's 2 hours for a group of 20 to 30 people as opposed to 30 people times 2 hours.
I think people call this hot seat too.
Hot seat.
So it's like you get to be in the hot seat with your business and we can offer up.
And the good thing about Crowdcast is that if people do want to come on screen and they do feel like, sorry, I was talking. I was talking over there. The good thing about Crowdcast is that if people do want to come on screen, they can. So if someone's on there and they're like, hey, I'll come on screen for a couple minutes, like Chantal would be a good example. She would definitely, I would think, come on screen and talk and do that, so she wouldn't have any worries with it. But yeah, I think that could be a good thing to try.
Okay, that's gonna be our next experiment. I like that better than all the
So
other
is that its own individual email then? Because that's where it gets a little tricky, because I think this is where we thought about it before of why we didn't increase the length of the onboarding email sequence for new buyers was because we wanted some flexibility to, what if we have a call, what if we have whatever? Should we just be okay with just sending an extra email that's join the onboarding video that's not a part of this sequence? Like it's its own individual broadcast
Well,
email.
I think we just, I'll kind of put the framework of that together and see.
I think it makes sense for it to be its own
Why
email.
would we not put it in this sequence?
Because we have to change the link every time. And the one thing that I noticed when I edited the campaign that we used, this is getting a little bit into the weeds, but when I edited the campaign for the second launch, it didn't actually update the email when I changed something in it. So like if I changed the link like in the campaign itself, maybe it's different with workflows, but like
It definitely is with workflows, but.
Yeah, like I changed the text that was like 5 spots left. It was 15 spots left. Remember I told you this. I changed it 2 days ahead of time of the email going out to anybody. This, like people were already in the sequence, we had added them, but in changing that email, it didn't actually update. It sent the old email.
So maybe the way that works is that it only updates for new people getting added to the campaign.
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
It is different in a workflow.
Okay.
Because that person hasn't reached that step yet.
So essentially this just adds a thing that we do with every launch that we add to our process, which is create an onboarding Crowdcast, update the link in this email that has the Crowdcast link into it. Okay.
Correct. So where do you want to put that?
I think the survey email, because I think we...
Put it in the survey email?
Yeah. This is where it does get a little bit tricky on the timing of it, because it's like if someone joins on the last day, they're getting the survey email 2 days after the registration is closed. So
yeah, we just have to make we just say what the, so we just have to make sure that the Crowdcast is 1 week from the closing of the registration window, and that way, and we just put the date, and that way if someone joins on the very first day, they still get 2 days later, they get that email and it says, and it basically just says it's a week and a half from now.
The other thing we could do is, and I'm actually thinking not put this in the email sequence, because I think it just adds one more step that's confusing and we have to think about days and whatever. I'd almost rather just send a 30-person BCC email manually, just grab their email addresses, put it in and just say, hey, we're doing the onboarding call, here's the link. And that literally takes 2 minutes and there's no, this could go wrong, this could, like none of that happens, Let's talk about it after this because we're like deep in the weeds on it.
I know.
But I think that's a good
in between.
So 2 things we need to do involving these personalized roadmaps. Number 1, are we committing to finish the ones for the first group of people or?
No.
Okay.
I think that we should do this for the people that are still.
So I think we should email the first group of people and the second group of people.
And do separate calls for each of them?
I think we just invite them all to do 1 call.
Okay. Why did you separate them like that?
Oh, just because it's, in my mind, there's a spreadsheet that we've been using that has the August buyers that we've been updating for their personalized roadmap. We haven't even done that for the October people yet. So to me, it's 2 separate groups and 2 separate places of how I think about them. Cool. So.
Okay. So.
Now the question is, when are we going to do that call?
Well, we'll figure that out after this.
Okay. So do you want to
get out of the weeds.
Do you want to make a note for August and October buyers? Do an onboarding call?
Yep. And also, if we are super snazzy, we can create the getting started roadmap and we can tell them about that as well. Well, we can really tell everyone about it, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, the last two things I wanted to talk about. We've got 15 minutes.
Ooh, timing.
The podcast.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
So the podcast / Wandering Aimfully show has been up and running for 5 weeks now, something like that. We're at episode 7007, James Bond. I like the show. I'm happy with the show. One of the things
I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, anecdotal evidence of the show.
2 things I'm not happy about that aren't pillars, they're just things.
Okay.
One thing is the time it takes me to edit every episode.
That's what I want to talk about.
So that's one thing. The second thing is that I would really like to prioritize pulling one part of the show out and making a shorter YouTube video that goes up that week, a la our friend Matt Diavella, who I'm basically just stealing with pride this thing that he does because I really like it and I think it works well.
Great.
So, editor conversation. Marcus, shout out to Marcus if you watch this. I don't know if he's going to or not. He joined in October. He does video and filmmaking stuff. And so he was like, you're crazy to be spending this much time on the episodes. Your time is worth so much more than that. I totally agree. It's just, it can be very difficult. And I think you guys will resonate with this of like, don't necessarily have the extra funds to spend to get my time back. However, it's almost never going to fix itself unless I invest the money to get my time back.
So really the question becomes, how much do you believe in the show in having a return on investment, which is very hard for us to see.
Right.
It's really just comes down to like a gut belief on
Right.
like, do you believe that this content helps us get new members? And if you do, then maybe it's worth investing.
Right. I mean, I just look at it of like, it's a deepening connection, which we've talked about multiple times with our existing audience, but it's also in some cases who is it? Camellia. She joined because of our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So like she watched our videos and that led her to join, and a couple other people mentioned that. So,
and I also have heard, again, this is qualitative anecdotal evidence, but people saying that's the first thing they do when they like hear, like a lot of people at camp, I told them about Wandering Aimfully. The first thing they did was go watch a bunch of our videos.
right.
So like, I think that's a place, even though our channel isn't very big, but it doesn't have to be big. Like,
Right.
I think that's a place where people go to get a sense of our personalities and do they like us and do they think it's valuable, the things we talk about?
Right.
Do they like our humor?
So let's talk very specifically about what the expenses would be like for this.
Okay.
I don't know how much an editor is. Marcus did mention that he's hired editors for $20 to $30 an hour. I don't know if we can find somebody. He did mention someone. I emailed her. She did not email me back, unfortunately.
Goes back to the just do
the work.
thing. Just do the thing.
My next thing to look at was potentially on Fiverr to find people who do video editing that are well recommended, because I think people have a negative connotation about the quality of work you get from Fiverr, but I think when you find the right person and you give them very explicit instructions, you get good work. A la our logo animation.
Allah is a big term for you right now.
Yeah, our logo animation that's in the show itself,
Which we like a
was
lot.
done and cranked it out. So I could do that, but here's where we have to talk specifically about the expenses. So let's say it's $25 an hour. We'll split the two of those as an average. I have to believe it's going to take someone at least for an hour episode.
10 hours?
I would say at the very minimum, if someone's super fast and really good, 5 hours.
So somewhere between...
So let's say 8 hours total as a very like conservative. Maybe someone could get it done in 2. I don't know.
So that's $200. So somewhere between $150 to $250, let's
Right.
say.
Per episode.
Per episode.
Now, that would also be them pulling out clips, so we would have all of our social clips. That's a little bit tricky, though, because you have to find someone who's thoughtful as they're editing to be able to pull those things out. So that's a little bit tricky. Like, I don't know if we're going to find someone that does that. The other part of this is that these files are humongous. So really the only way to do this is to ship someone a physical hard drive in the mail overnight or 2 to 3 day. So
I think that it's worth it for us to pursue the route of trying to find an editor, knowing exactly what we need from them. Like, hey, do this, pull this out, giving them the opportunity, like giving them a time estimate and then giving them an opportunity to do one and seeing what that whole process is like. Because even if, like, let's say our budget is to keep it under $500
per episode?
Per episode. Because what I'm thinking about is, right, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, because my mind went to $500 a month, and I was like, we could use
Yeah,
we could use my course sales and stuff to pay for that. But
yeah, this is a hard decision to make, which is why we're sharing the conversation about these difficult decisions of not exactly knowing how much it is until you get someone to do it, and then you pay for it and you find out, okay, was that really helpful? Because here's the other thing is that could this person also do the shorter video, or does that free us up the time to be able to do 2 other videos in the week that help grow the YouTube channel, are shorter videos that are maybe more shareable, because the show isn't super shareable, we know that, but maybe we're making more shareable type videos in that time that we gain back.
yeah, I just think that this is not a good use of your time.
I totally agree, but
You have many other skills that are more critical to the success of us being able to grow our email list or finish up guides or do all this stuff.
Or spend 20 hours talking with one of Aimfully members.
Exactly.
I would much rather do that and try and help people. So
do you agree that coming out of this meeting, we should at least pursue this and really
Yes.
price it out and really see?
I have on my calendar tomorrow to follow up with the woman that I emailed. If I don't hear back from her, I'll probably just go on Fiverr today after this call or after this meeting anyway, and just look and see if I can find people and see what that looks like from there.
I'm also not above I wonder some type of trade thing where is it me creating a brand and a Squarespace website for them?
I mean,
and does that get us 4 episodes, or you know what I'm saying?
It's just tough to find. How do you find someone who needs that's everything. Anyway,
I'm just saying that's in our back pocket is if we want to trade.
Yeah, someone on Fiverr, I don't think we're going to be able to trade because I think they're that's their livelihood is doing that. So we can go down that road. But I think the next step here is to agree. Yes, let's try and do this. Now let's try and find someone. Let's go through the process of doing it and go from there.
And we'll just have to keep doing it until.
Well, this week's a good week to potentially think about it, is that we're going to try and record 4 episodes of the show between tomorrow and Wednesday.
Right, but I think we're not going to be able to find, I think you're going to have to do.
I'm going to have to at least do 1, but my goal would be, here's the other kind of slight wrinkle in all of this as well. If I'm still editing one, I have to have a hard drive to be able to put the files on to send to someone.
You can't buy an extra hard drive?
I can, they're $500.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the one I have?
I mean,
the Seagate?
Yeah, we can get a cheaper one for sure that just is the storage of it. Because the reason the one that I have is $500 is because I actually edit from the hard drive because it's so fast, because it's a solid state hard drive. This is super nerdy. We can get a cheaper one that should be able to just talk to. I'll talk to Caleb about it. Our friend Caleb will be able to recommend.
Sounds like I just deflected that hurdle.
Yeah, it'll still be.
That's part of the investment.
Yeah, $100,
fine.
something like that.
That's fine. Again, I just think the more and more time that you pour into this, the more I just feel like it's not the right use of your time.
Okay.
Okay. We have 13 minutes. We haven't really talked about customer acquisition.
Yep.
But this goes back to my other big thing here, which is do it differently, which is what different things can we do?
So customer acquisition is something that we have not thought about outside of our email list, outside of our YouTube channel, the podcast, and then our existing social media channels.
Which isn't very intentional in terms of, it's just your most basic content marketing.
So this begs the question.
Yes.
Do we want to try a November launch, doing the same thing we did in October, and see if the numbers continue to decline? Now, granted, it went from 35 members paying in August to 20 members paying in October. Do we want to see if we stay at 20? And then maybe we just okay, how do we figure out that gap? Or do we want to see, okay, our email list is just tired and we only got 10 or 15. Now we really have to figure out the customer acquisition thing.
I would really like to...
Because also, remember, November 5th is coming up in 2 weeks.
I know.
So
I would really like to do the middle of those, which is to apply our workshop strategy to the November launch.
Okay.
So do another workshop.
Okay.
We have 2 weeks.
During the launch.
During the launch.
Okay.
Not do a lifetime upsell, not do a promise of, hey, this isn't going to be a sales pitch.
Right.
Being like, hey, we're in the middle of selling our Wandering Aimfully memberships. If you want to get an idea.
Yeah, this is what we were going to do with the selling workshop in October. It just, the timing didn't work out.
Right.
So with November, we would create another workshop.
Yeah.
And we would get people to sign up for that.
Correct.
During the launch, and then at the end of that, we would pitch people to buy.
Correct.
So then the goal would be basically coming up with the plan of what is that content, When are we promoting that? And where are we promoting that? So probably for a separate discussion.
Yes. But that's what I would like to try, because unless you have some other customer acquisition ideas that we
No.
can pull together in two weeks.
No, I just think we have to be really honest about how much time we have in the next 2 weeks to be able to devote to
I'm
that.
also really trying to, I know that social doesn't like move the needle a ton, but this was while I was totally sick. So like we weren't even barely posting at all.
Yeah.
So this is posting more, being more intentional about that. Trying to remind people of our content, like the helpful stuff.
Yep.
The podcast is going.
Yeah, and then the other thing that, going back to do it differently, so like to me that's not even getting into the do it differently category.
that's not.
We just don't even have time yet to discuss.
Well, let's just
So
talk about ideas.
Yeah, what we talked about specifically in the car ride about 2 hours ago is like our own advice that we would tell someone else who's in our position is you can't just think that you're going to send weekly emails to people and all the customers are going to show up. Like that's all well and good, but we've seen that it doesn't work perfectly. I mean, it did work in the beginning. It worked okay in October, but we don't know what it would do in November. And I think we will know when November comes with a workshop what that's going to look like.
November is coming.
The winter is coming. But the key for us is to go, well, we would tell someone in our shoes, hey, you can't just do email and social like everyone else is doing it. Like you're gonna have to do something that's a little bit different. You're gonna have to do something that attracts other people who may not know about your stuff, or it's very shareable for your existing audience so that other people will find you. So that being said, I think my opinion is, because we're not gonna come up with something in 10 minutes, is to prioritize in November after that launch, what is something we can do between November launch and December launch to really try and pump up kicks? Knowing that we're going to have Thanksgiving in there and like Black Friday and all that stuff, but to think of something that could be really fun or different or cool or unique or whatever that could attract people that could be interesting. And I don't know if that's something like my friend Matt Giovanisi's email sign up page that was like just a satire on the craziness that is people's email sign up forms all over their websites. I don't know if it's something like that or if it's creating some tool like we've talked about for so many months now, probably over a year, and actually trying to like get that done without any investment, but just trying to partner with someone who can build it.
I just had a realization that our November launch window is the election.
Okay. I mean, we can't change it now. We don't have the flexibility.
Okay.
At least it's not the presidential election.
Yeah, I just think people, I mean, I'm hoping that people are going to be paying attention to that stuff, so I don't know how interested they're going to be in.
We'll find out.
We'll
Let's
find
have our workshop not be on how to vote. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll save Do It Differently to later.
So we're just going to prioritize that in November to think about, hopefully for something to get us to December launch. And I think all of this stuff, you know, it's so much of you just throw stuff at the wall and you see what sticks and you just...
Well, it's exactly what the Monday email was about, which is
Yeah.
like all of this stuff, like ideas that we have of things that we're trying are better than just sitting here and being like, hope this, you know what I mean? Like just hoping that everything that we've done before works. It's like, no, like you have to keep twisting things. You have to keep pulling levers and seeing what really gets you traction. So I'm going to write a little section here to wrap up this meeting called Action Steps. So what are the takeaways here?
I'm hoping this records. My phone's going into low power mode.
I think it'll record in low power mode.
You're a little bit out of the shot slightly. If you just, there you go, come back in a little bit. You don't have to go super far, but if this video cuts out,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
really bad posture, so
And
sometimes
we'll
I
just
like,
have audio for the end of this. So action steps from here.
yeah.
So we need to write the email onboarding emails and get those added to the workflow.
Okay, is that you or me?
Let's assign after this because I think we need to talk more about other things that are, because there's even other stuff that we have going
Okay.
on.
Getting started.
Roadmap.
Operation, find an editor.
Yep. Plan out the August and October buyer call. record Wandering Aimfully shows the next couple days.
Okay.
Not on this list, but it's something that we need to go back to as the 6-month gift thing. Don't.
We have that all in Airtable. I'm talking
Okay,
about from
okay,
this call.
Okay. I wasn't trying to bring my list in here. It's literally the only thing on this list.
Stick to the process.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right.
And not work on any new
Ketchup. We're in ketchup mode. Gluten-free, sugar-free, delicious ketchup.
personal DM process.
Hope this unedited meeting was interesting. I doubt it was helpful. Maybe it was helpful. I don't know.
I'm so sick of you saying every unedited meeting we do, you go, hope this was helpful, as though we said nothing. And
I just
what
don't
does
know.
every person say? Not every person, but most people are like, that was really helpful.
I just have
You
to.
need to, what happened? You need to just have confidence in yourself.
I think you need to manage the Airtable, the Journey to 330, and all Slack communication for the next couple months.
Is that what's beating you
We'll
down?
switch, yeah.
The man's getting you down. Don't let the bastards get you down.
Whoa.
It's from Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, Handmaiden's Tale.
No.
All right. Thanks for watching. I know
Guys.
this was helpful. I know it was the best video you've watched today, and
All right, we went from 0 to 60.
congratulations on.
We like you guys so much. Thanks for bearing with us as I just disappeared for a while.
What are you doing with your arm?
This is my I'm being super casual look.
Bye.
Bye.